One of my more haunting experiences with Clive and David Thibodeau especially was when they talk about what happened on the last day. And when Tibbs and I just drove down from Maine to come back for this anniversary, and we were talking about it, and he's telling me about the point when he fully lost hope, when on the radio they announced that the Davidians were shooting at the FBI, and the FBI, to their credit, were not firing back. And David Thibodeau was like looking around and nobody's shooting, but they're getting radio reports that they're shooting. And he said that's when he lost all hope, because he knew they're going to come in and kill us. This is like a setup. This is where they can come in and open fire on us. That's what he was expecting, was they're going to come in and open fire on us. So that kind of goes to show the mindset that he had. He had no idea that, hey, we're going to burn up. He thought, oh, this is going to be a final assault, and now they're going to come in with the tanks and they're going to shoot us. When the fire started, and this is where talking to both Clive and David Thibodeau, it's a very powerful experience when you talk about those last few moments that these people had. Especially, Tibbs has told me that he still feels guilty to this day when Brother Friesen asked him, hey, should we go out? And he said, no, not right now. We better not go out. Let's just wait and see what happens. The fire starts. Friesen gets caught up in there and dies because of smoke inhalation. Passes out and goes down. It's very haunting to hear two people, and this is where I've had the benefit of having both guys describe it to me firsthand, and they paint a vivid picture, of Wayne Martin walking out and lifting off his mask and just being resigned to the fact that this is the place I'm going to die, and just start breathing in deeply, to start breathing the smoke in and sliding down the wall. And when you talk to these people, and I've talked to both of them independently, and the story just lines up perfectly. And like I had said before, the weird thing is these two guys actually, believe it or not, don't talk to each other about that stuff. They talk about everything. They talk about the weather. They talk about how the kids are doing, but they don't talk about the siege or the Mount Carmel. And that was the weird thing that I found very interesting. And it's especially hard when you hear the story about that, and then you get to meet Sheila Martin, and Wayne was her husband, and you know that Wayne Jr. was next to him. And so these are just really, there's a lot of really powerful stories that came out of here, and I don't think a lot of them translate in some of the documentaries. Even the shootout, probably one of the biggest things that's really bothered me the most. And this is one of those things, when I watch the ATF agents, I've seen ATF agents testify before Congress, and they'll say things like, oh, we would never shoot indiscriminately. I know Kevin Jones. I know Mark Jones. I know Heather Jones. I know Danny Martin. I know Kimmy Martin. These are all child survivors. I know Scott Mabb. And when you hear these child survivors, and they're all telling you, I didn't have an adult in my room. And Kevin Jones told me how the bullets were spraying wood all over his room, and him and Mark rolled onto the floor, and they knew that there was a couple inches of concrete foundation, so they just kind of laid their head below the concrete. And there's no adults in their rooms, and bullets are flying all over the place. But yet the ATF is going to testify in front of Congress, oh, we don't fire indiscriminately. I can give you 15 child survivors that had their rooms shot up with no adults in them and no firearms. That's a lot of rooms for them not to be firing indiscriminately.
And of course, that's illegal for police officers or law enforcement agents to fire indiscriminately into a building, right?
So this is where I'm going to go on my rant. Okay, as a veteran, this is where I'm going to go on my rant. Okay, I'm really frustrated with two things when it comes to law enforcement. First off, I'm really frustrated with the militarization of the law enforcement. I don't think Americans fully understand what is going on here. The founding fathers were brilliant the way they set up, our system of government. The military is for overseas use. You send the military overseas because you're going to kill people. Domestic law enforcement is domestic law enforcement, and the two are separate. And they did that for a reason, because they didn't want a president getting in charge and saying, hey, maybe I don't want to be a two-termer. Maybe I want to just keep power. I will use the military and take charge. Brilliant brilliant. I'm sure you've heard posse comitatus. That's the whole idea behind it. It's brilliant. And then I look at, it'll be Podunk, Mississippi now has an armored vehicle. They might only have 5 cops, so they have an armored vehicle. I'm seeing the militarization of the police force at an alarming rate. And the thing that is extremely, extremely frustrating to me is these guys are, believe it or not, are held to a lower standard than what I was held to in a war zone. And it makes no sense to me. I've seen so many police shootings. As the statistics gotten better over the last couple of years, but one of the statistics, 1 in 5 people shot by police is unarmed. That's the current statistic. If a doctor killed 1 in 5 patients, he wouldn't be allowed to practice. But we let our law enforcement kill 1 in 5 people. I can tell you, I've seen police shootings that I guarantee you, had I done in a war zone, I'd be sitting in Fort Leavenworth right now. So it's frustrating to see, police held to such a low standard, and all they can claim is, well, I felt like my life was threatened.